Celebrating our 50 years of being a congregation in South Central Elkhart is a perfect time for us to consider the biblical call to Jubilee. In the book of Leviticus, we hear the intention that the 50th year, the year after 7 times 7 years, is a holy year. It's a year of returning and reordering. In this vision, lands and possessions that have accumulated over the years are redistributed and reallocated. It's an amazing vision, really. Creator God instituted an economic system for humans founded on the principles of abundance and equity and justice. Built into Jubilee is a reset that restores a fullness of humanity within a community, a fullness founded on economics and economic equity for all. As our Creator, God knows and understands human beings. Fear and greed and a desire to dominate will result in some people accumulating and amassing wealth while others become poor and disempowered. The disparity and injustices dehumanize those who struggle to live, and it dehumanizes those who amass fortunes and use it to dominate and oppress. As I've been thinking about Jubilee this week, I've begun to see the uprisings in cities across our nation as cries for Jubilee. In our country and around the globe, the demand is for a reset, for a reallocation and redistribution of wealth and resources and power is growing. Racism and white supremacy are more than attitudes towards people and cultures of color. White supremacy and racism are necessary to maintain the economic systems and structures of this country. The economy of this country is an economy that has advantaged and favored whiteness. Systemic and systematic disadvantages for indigenous, black, and brown bodies has been built into our systems. It's how our country works. Racism maintains the structures and systems of our economy, of our institutions, and of our civic life. So as we at Fellowship of Hope are celebrating our 50 years, we are being asked to participate in God's call for Jubilee. When I, as a white person, begin to reckon with the white supremacy and advantages that I've inherited that inhabit my very body without my permission and mostly without my conscious awareness, when we begin to pay attention to the ways we embody supremacist ways of thinking and being, we are ushering in the year of Jubilee. Sometimes when we as white people hear about racism and white supremacy, we experience guilt and shame, and we react by defending ourselves or by becoming paralyzed by guilt and shame. But please hear this. Do not be afraid. Do not be burdened by this. Do not defend yourself. Do not be ashamed. We are people of Pentecost. The Holy Spirit of God is alive and is always, in every circumstance, our defender. In the midst of facing our racism, the Holy Spirit of God is our advocate and our defender. The invitation in this year of Jubilee is to turn our eyes toward the truth, because the truth will set us free. Because here's the thing about Jubilee. Jubilee isn't a new set of laws for how the reset and reallocations and redistributions will happen. Jubilee is about release, about letting go, about forgiving and being forgiven. In Jubilee, we're no longer captives to our supremacy. We're no longer bound by guilt and shame, because in Jubilee, we are forgiven, released, and set free. The Greek word for Jubilee is the same word that is often translated in the New Testament as forgive. When we tell the truth about what is so, when we tell the hard, painful truth, we are set free because our God is a God of Jubilee. God's economy is a Jubilee economy. Some of us relate to being forgiven in the same way that Sarah related to being told that she would give birth to a child at the age of 99. We may not laugh, but we share her disbelief. Deep in our bodies, deep within our muscles and bones, we carry a belief that we are not worthy of forgiveness. We think it's impossible for God to forgive white people for centuries and centuries of injustices and oppression. But there is nothing too hard for God. There's no forgiveness that's too difficult for God. There's no reset too difficult. No jubilee that's too difficult or impossible for God. Because our God, the God of Jesus, the God of the Holy Spirit, the resurrecting and living God, is a giving God, a forgiving God, a God of Jubilee, always a God of Jubilee. May we give ourselves to God's economy of release and forgiveness. May we join the Jubilee that God is raising up. May it be so.